happy birthday, Gene DiOrio. Yesterday, right? Yeah, so great.
59.
Yeah, 59. So, yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the Graystone Society State of the Society meeting. It's our second State of the Society meeting, and what we really wanted to do is open up the historic district to get behind-the-scenes tours and to do some of that. I think Kathy in the Grutska collection, continues to amaze people when they pull out drawers and see what's there. And then Jim was down at Brandywine Mansion, which continues to, as well, be our restoration in progress, and we learn a lot about that house pretty much each and every day. So appreciate you both for being here and doing that as well. Really want to thank everybody for being here tonight again, to take time out to learn about the Historic Society and the Graystone Society, and then as well, I think what we wanted to do is more of a panel type discussion, and open ourselves up to questions and answers about what we do and how we do it, and what we might also think about doing. So that's great. Which reminds me that if nobody says it, I'd like to sit before good. They're on the chairs. Comment cards, are great. If there's anything that you think that we do well, or that you'd like to see us do in the future, write it down, and we'll take a look at it. Tonight we will go through the annual report, and then what we'll also do is we'll hear from some of our key staff people. Juliette Honsinger is program manager, and Kathy Bratton is the collections manager, and then Jim Ziegler is the executive director. So we'll get to their reports. We'll try and keep this quick. Last year was great. I think it was very warm out, so this year it's nice and cozy, and hopefully everybody's warm. But all right, let's start out with the annual report, and again, if anybody has any questions along the way, feel free to ask at any point in time. We'll try and get through this, but again, if there's a question that can be done at the end, we'll look at that, especially about where we might be going in the future. This is kind of a summary of where we were and what we did last year. Again, new Grutska on the front cover. Just inside real quick is the table of contents with our mission and vision. And, feel free to read along, or we can look at this as well. Report from the president, new as the executive director. We'll have to get that 50-50 next year, Jim. It looks like it's...
I'm a man of few words.
Yeah, right. That's great. So, let's see. The next couple pages then are really, what I like a lot are the people that help us out, on the committee levels and the board members, and as well the staff and advisors. The board members, Jeff Roars, vice president, Bill Keene, secretary, and then Peter Nunn, who's here tonight as treasurer. Al Giantonio, who's as well here tonight, is a board member, along with my dad, Charles Lucas Huston III, Lloyd Roach, Jay Cedar, and Barbara Travaglini. I know we have a current board member, Martha Skiatis, tonight, but this is the 2013, and so we've had some people who are no longer they're still alive, but they're just no longer with the society. Or Lloyd Roach and Jay Cedar, and I said this year we've added Barbara Travaglini or Martha Skiatis. So. And then as well, you see on the staff, we don't carry two program managers. Jen Green was with us, I think it was until June, and then Juliette, I think July, August, July? June as well. There was some overlap, yeah, right, so it's a good transition. And then everybody else there. And the advisors, you see Harold, our museum, and Peter, architect, and Jean, our historical advisor. Committees are great. I won't really run through all the names. But there's a good mix of community people. Try and point out some, other people. Business committee meets Wednesdays, every Wednesday. The business committee meets and goes over the finances and the organization of the trust, the revenues and expenses. A lot of fun stuff. And then the program and property committees last year, I believe they met every month, but this year, because we have added capacity in the staff, those two committees will meet quarterly, and that's nice. And we really have good participation there on the program committee. I do want to recognize some of those people because that they really helped Juliette. Tony Buck and community community liaison. He's great. Lisa Doan Harley, teacher. Judy Jones, Dr. Tanya Taylor. I think everybody knows her, but she she's been in the papers lately. But she's great. She really helps out and gives us a different point of view, and I think she really challenges everybody. And then you have Ross Kershey as well, his local historian, Harry Lewis, Gene, Tom Walsh, really interested as well with Rich in our Iron and Steel Roundtable, which is another committee that then looks at the what do we want to do? We look at research and then publication and presentation of iron and steel. Typically, just the process and the places. And process, you mean like a plant. And we want to map. That's our next project for next year. So we'd get at the end. But we really want to map. But there's about 1,470 some iron sites. Furnaces, rolling mills, furnaces, and we want to map them pre-1960, and so and then talk about each one of those sites, and each one of those sites has a history and tie it into the iron and steel. But that's a group that really is looking into that. Susanna's here tonight. I think it's good to have her here, and then Al Brown, he's a local historian, and Ron's here as well on that committee, so that's good. The Museum Memorial Committee meets about once a year. I think We'll cover that at the end about the progress with the museum, and then you have the Rebecca Lukens Committee, which meets at the typically at the end of the year. And this year's recipient was Molly Morrison. 2013, Molly Morrison. Last year was in 2013 was Regina Horton Lewis. Very excited to have her be the recipient last year, and that was held up at the Coatesville Country Club. Right. Well, there's more on that later. Then anyway, you see the map of the historic district to give everybody an outline. And then the next couple pages are pretty static on the history of the Graystone Society. And started in Graystone. Timeline's nice. We added that. We may work on that, but and Gene will converse if there's any errors or omissions. Because I wasn't sure if Graystone, just on this draft, I wasn't sure if Graystone was acquired in '95 or '93. I think
95.
It was '93, but there was a study done in '93 on Greystone.
We started talking about it in '93. We took it over in '95.
Right. So, but those are interesting dates that are important in the Greystone and marking the time as it goes by here at Greystone, and hopefully we just keep adding to that on a rapid pace. Most notably, we're working on Brandywine Mansion at the bottom. Completing the historic structures report, which I believe was not completing it, but doing an investigative phase of the historic structures report, which was, I believe, last year's presentation, which has been great to have them. So the next couple pages, then, really we want to talk about the property, each property's the property as a whole, and at the bottom you just see that in 2013, for instance, that's where we wanted to highlight what was new. About each building, and continue to work on the historic structures report with Brandywine Mansion. If anybody was down there, they could with Jim, they would have seen the boards and the progress of what we want to do. There's the reconstruction phase, which would have been to build it as it was. Which would included 16 feet of additional house to be built. That's missing. To the east of the house. There is also what would be known as the current phase, which would be as the building is, and then there's what we hope to do is the restoration phase, or the preservation phase. I'm sorry, restoration and then current and then preservation, and look at the house. You have a couple main primary rooms. Basically, one and the west end is missing. But we're looking at trying to advance that and have that really tightened up and work on that from a capital campaign standpoint moving forward. But we also, what was interesting is we dated the house. As you can see in there, we did a dendrology, not a dendrology. What was it? What do you call that, Jim?
Dendrochronology.
Dendrochronology, right? Report, and Jim has the full report on that, which is very interesting. But they dated the house and the tree rings. It's where you drill in and you date the tree rings. Just send it off to sampling. I believe Penn State. Bless you. Yeah, that's right. they sent it off to Penn State and matched it up and determined that the trees were felled, about 1738, and I think the house dates to about 1739. Is how they did it. It's additional research on the house that we're able to present one of the more significant houses in Chester County, and we hope the nation. Let's see, you can go either way. The Terracina has its continual needs, and the Coatesville Youth Initiative with Jean Diorio as well advanced and Kathy advanced the collection inventory of what exactly we have in Terracina and where it is, so we can locate it. The tenant house continues to remain occupied by a resident. The interior is restored, but the exterior definitely needs attention, and we continue to look for funding for helping to paint the outside and take care of that. Graystone Mansion, we're very delighted tonight, to have Gene and his cousin here tonight and want to thank them publicly. I think everyone would agree that Graystone Mansion definitely looks a lot better with the chandeliers that the family has donated, and since then the house has really had a lot of events, which is great to see. And really, looking out the window last night in my office, and sorry I wasn't able to make it, but there were kids playing in the front yard, and I think they were looked like rough play, but I was about to go over. But they all, it was good friends, and it was kind of interesting to see the dynamics of kids playing in front of Graystone, and just, I think that's a lot of success, and the direction that we want to head is, the people can feel free to come here and have a good time. And then Carriage House in the office building, we really don't have any updates on that. I think the one update that we may have is that last year in this office building, we were able to have more art out on display. This year, which will be in next year's annual report, this year we actually installed, if you take a look in the back, we installed some runners, thanks, and Ron helped out to hang art, but now, so you can hang art in the back, and display a lot more things. We're also, I don't want to steal any Juliette's thunder, but you could also do interpretive panels, pretty much text only, two-dimensional things can be hung, but if we have a lecture or program, we might be able to change out the exhibits and have some interchangeable educational materials back there. All right. Which then says, well, what we have as well falls under property. Kathy Bratton is in charge of the collections, and she'll give us a full report, so I'll dust through this, but you see the Grutska collection at Penn State, and of course the chandeliers is a great addition to Graystone Mansion in time for the holiday open house last year. Just a brief acquisitions and accession ledger. This is something that we just added this year, and this does not by any means. I don't know. I'd let Kathy speak about the numbers. I'm usually a numbers guy, but it seems like we generously get a lot of things from the community, and hopefully this list, continues to grow as some things get dropped in boxes, and then there's a process by which they get moved through into the collections. And a lot of things are actually held because, as we get organized, we need more volunteers and manpower. We move things through from collections which just have a temporary holding, and then before they get formally put into the accession ledger. But our category is broken down into photographs and objects, library, and research. And I think that this just represents maybe a mix of all of that. I see a typewriter Kate Pella dropped off. That's great. And books. So moving forward then, why do we have the program, the real estate and the collections, and what do you want to do with it? Well, we like to have, programs and education. The one thing that I just want to mention, we added this today, was on the right, you have the educational. We do a lot of group tours and get a lot of drop-ins. But our main programs are on the left, the special events with the 7th Annual Rebecca Lukens Award with recipient Regina Horton, and then we have the garden party where this year's Volunteer of the Year is here tonight and is great. Dick Scott always helps us out, and we'll be selecting this year's garden party recipient soon. And then the Scholarship Award and 9/11 Steelworkers Reunion, Holiday Open House, and our lecture series. Last year's lecture series, admittedly, were a little maybe off topic with Gettysburg and the Battle of Lake Erie, but nonetheless, significant points in Pennsylvania's history that we're having well publicized marketing efforts, and we just wanted to tie in local history to that. And then deep sea submersibles, that was great. Dr. Susan Humphreys, and of course then they're now deep sea diving in the deep Pacific Ocean. But bus trips are always well attended, and those were great. But you see one of the on the right then, metrics. I always like measurements. We had the Chester County Day in October, which is what caused the big spike. For that we had, I think I told everybody, oh, we'll probably have 500 people, show up. We're a lunch spot. Don't worry about it. It'll be a light load. And oh, by the way, I won't be here. And I don't know. I think you ran out of pamphlets, 2,000 pamphlets or something like that. I think you were giving them one to a couple. So that's a positive error. But anyway, it was very nice to have that. And one of the metrics we'll add there that I think Juliette and Dick are working on are just you see that's by month, but I'd also like to track what day of the week do normal do visitors show up. Sunday through Monday. When are people typically showing up? But on average, a year we get about 1,700 foot traffic a year. Yeah, and it varies by different counts. Whether they show up for a tour or they volunteer, that could be meetings or events. But we're starting to break down that number into what they're visiting for. But how do we get people here? And communications outreach is one strategy. Where this just lists our symmetrics, our constant contact, and our mailing lists, and then our social media efforts. Where we have two main Facebook pages, which is Lucan's National Historic District and the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. Those are about equal now. They're about maybe about 225 on the other one. We gained a lot of museum followers. That's our, we seem to, I don't want to comment on that, but I think that's been growing faster, I think, than the Lucan's National Historic District. Facebook. Facebook, you just see the June, because we just started looking into the metrics about the sharing. When somebody shares it in the outreach, the total outreach. And so we just started tracking that in June, and then 2014 will be our baseline year for that, and we do have Twitter followers. And you see our webpage stats. We don't really have historical data on that as well, so that may change from year to year, but nonetheless, that gives you a sense of our volume. The reason we don't have historical data is because we redid the website, and the metrics, again, didn't match up. You wouldn't be looking at apples to apples. But one of the neat things as well that we do look at is event video viewership, which is on the right, and we're very happy to always have C3 TV help and cover us on all of that stuff. Our lectures, all our visitors, we have foot traffic and visitors who attend the audience, but it's amazing to see who watches things, and we're just always proud to work with them on trying to get this accessible to people who can't make it here, and we really thank them for that. Looking at this, I'm not sure which is easier, but my wife will tell me I need to go to the eye doctor if I start swaying too much on looking at this. But it's interesting. Two of the big ones in the spiking are definitely about iron and steel making, and what is the other one? Iron and steel making and steel making. And then you have as well the past event, which is the one of the Coatesville ceremonies. I think from the 10th anniversary, 11th anniversary. And but this is interesting because, again, this shows that this helps guide us in what's interesting and relevant to people, and what we can invest our future programming in. But again, it's just as well we count them as another type of visitor. Again, we put out educational material and programming, and not everybody can make it here, and who views it afterwards. Now, the next pages are then, I guess, really at the end is how do we do all this, and some basic accounting information's on page 16 and 17. I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers, but you can see the scope and scale of the organization, and just at the bottom line is that the organization continues to grow in its assets and probably as well as its liabilities, but nonetheless it continues to grow as an organization and move it forward. Next couple pages then are, our income and expenses. And, we're heavily supported by the Houston family and the Houston Foundation and the Stuart Houston Charitable Trust. So those continue to remain foundational supports. But as well, you see what's growing is that we get $183,000 from other sources of income, which is tremendous. And, I know it's a little convoluted there with all the dots or all the lines. But if you can, let me see if I have a pen around here somewhere, is you have our golf outing, our Rebecca Lukens Award, and our garden party. Our golf outing, our Rebecca Lukens Award, and our garden party all are our major fundraisers. Those are events, fundraising events, and they do quite well. And then you see our membership and our annual appeal, and these are individuals, our membership and our annual appeal. And again, those are key individual supporters for cash contributions. And so those are the main. Everything else is relatively small, but I wanted to point out and highlight our membership. We really couldn't do it without the membership support and the day-to-day, the $50, $25, as well as, the 100 and 200 and, the scale 5 and it goes on. But our members are really the key to the organization and the annual appeal as well. But, it comes in and it goes. We're a great economic engine for sure. You see the expenses down there, the administration, of course, building our capacity and helping people deliver the programs and services, as well as then the programs themselves in orange, I believe that is, and about 80,000. And then Grutzka collection, but I think that's just collection in general. Heavily involved in as well in the Grutzka and the purchase of that, finishing the purchase of that last year. And then you see on the top right our real estate assets, the Terracina and the Graystone Mansion and Brandywine and the Tenant House, and what they run on a year-to-year basis, generally speaking, about 55 and 50. Graystone will have more expenses this year because I think it's been occupied a little bit more, but we hope that the rent covers that. On the right, you see just our volunteers. Again, last year's, we should probably note that in our annual appeal, Jim, before, that Dick Scott was or somehow we should note our volunteers of the year, in the annual report. But anyway, I think Dick's on there, because he was a volunteer of the year. And the volunteer hours is very interesting. I know that in May last year there was a shift in accounting for volunteer hours. Some of the volunteer hours that were accounted for this building weren't necessarily accounted for the Graystone Society, more for the Stuart Houston Charitable Trust. So there was a slight adjustment in the accounting there, as well as, again, I mentioned at the top of the page, many different sponsors. C3 TV provides a lot of in-kind sponsorships. The Williams Group, again, the Williams Group is our press group, and they really help our media relations with the Rebecca Lukens and the 9/11 ceremony. And we really could not do those events without the generosity of the Williams Group and C3 TV. So next page is then, you get into the meat of this is who really we are. This is the family of the Graystone Society and the people that help us out on the various different levels. And then as well, just skipping ahead, take time to browse through it. At the end, we just throw in some of the graphs that we look at, from on a business committee level on a week basis are the membership level breakdowns, year to date from last year, as well as membership income. And you can see that last year was a little down from the previous 2 years, but our down years seem to be up from before. So hopefully we can capture that. Our goal each year is about $25,000 to $30,000 in membership, and we raise. We're heading towards that direction. So we're taking a good look at that. And our annual appeal occurs a couple times a year, and these are the people that help us out with that. It's a great list of good friends and supporters for our annual appeal and our giving levels as well. It's interesting to take a look at. And I think on the last page is are the sponsorships. And these, again, our sponsorships are good friends who help us out with the really focus towards the programming and making our site more accessible and open to the public and providing good events. And it's broken down by event. And we really want to thank a lot of people, especially I think one of the people I haven't mentioned is Peter and Ruth Nunn with our lectures. Pico Energy helps us out greatly with our support. Citadel credit union, spin-off of Luke and Steel. They're a great community bank. And let's see, Pico, I'd like to thank my wife. She lets me do a lot of this. And then, yeah, you know, our event sponsor, Citadel DNB, Brandywine Health Foundation, Coatesville Savings Bank. And I really want to thank them. And Steve Cunningham helps us out on the Rebecca Lukens Award, and various sponsors. Two of the big things. Then we have a rental properties, and then there's Grutska Art that we have for sale. Really, that's the annual report, you know, and I think it goes back to the front page here. But if there's any questions on the annual report, that would be great. You know, if you're taking your time and looking at it, one of the things that I'll just talk about is typically a big question is the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum and the progress last year that we made on the museum, and it's pretty frustrating, but it's slow. But we did meet in October with ArcelorMittal, and it continues to be a project that they're interested in, and you know, we are very hopeful that we can one day move our events and our exhibits from this building and talk about general themes about how do you make steel, Rebecca Lukens, you know, again, science, technology, and engineering and math. Those are great skills for higher education and as well jobs. But as well, we have a great you know, past and the history and the art and the architecture. You know, we don't want to ignore that either. Kind of one of the sayings is, you know, manage the past and explore the future. I'm not sure if, you know, everybody's totally sold on that as a slogan, but I keep saying it. And so, you know, it's good. But anyway, if anybody has any questions, that'd be great. You know, I'd feel free to, you know, address them now. And as well, I'll be around after. If not, I'm not sure you guys switched chairs. I'm not sure who wants to go first. But as well, we really want the opportunity to, you know, for Juliette and Kathy both to talk a little bit more about, you know, some of the programs and the collections. So I guess Juliette, maybe since you're sitting right here, is you could talk a little bit more about the programs and some of the exciting things that you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you to all of you who came out tonight on this chilly but otherwise very pleasant spring evening. I'm going to be talking about the programs for 2013 and give you a glimpse into what those programs give them some color, give them some life, tell you a little bit about what happened last year, and also to tell you about what our vision is for the future. As I'm speaking, I believe our 2013 calendar was on page 12. So if you'd like to take a look there as I'm talking about them, that'll give you a reference point to look at. And tonight, really one of the cornerstones of what I'm going to be speaking about is our vision for the future. We've done a lot in the past year to evaluate and strengthen our programming based on the visitor input. So that's been very important for our future vision. We would like all of our members and those interested in becoming members and those taking part in our educational community events at our museum, we'd like you to know that your voice and support has really led to improvements in programming, and it's led to a cohesive vision for the future. So thank you for all your support this past year. Since we had our last State of Society meeting last April, 2013, there's been a number of events here at the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. I came in June, so that's the first and foremost thing that's happened via programming. I kid, but that has happened in the past year. Some of the highlights from last year's calendar include a few annual favorites. In the summer, there was 2 events that drew very large crowds. First, the museum had the annual garden party. Dr. Robert Jennings from Lincoln University spoke as our keynote. It was a very pleasant way to welcome the university into Coatesville. I believe they're still planning when they're going to open up down at the building, but that was a very nice way to welcome them to the community. Also during the garden party, we celebrated the bestowing of 2 new scholarship winners from Cash. I believe the Trust provides scholarships each year to students who will pursue engineering and math in college. So the annual garden party is a very pleasant way to do that for them. And in addition to awarding those 2 scholarships, we got to award the Volunteer of the Year award to Dick Scott, as it has been mentioned. So we'll look forward to that again in June this year. So that was our first big event for the summer. Then again in October, we had our second very large event, and as Scott mentioned, that was Chester County Day. How Chester County Day functions is it's every year they focus on a different quadrant of the county, and 2013 fell in the northwestern part of Chester County, so we fell within that. And as mentioned, we ended up with 2,000 visitors here that day, so that was a wonderful opportunity. We were very happy to open almost all the buildings. We had this building open, Terracina, Graystone Mansion, unfortunately not Brandywine Mansion. So in 2017, when that cycle happens again, we hope to have the funding and the support together to be able to get those improvements to be able to open Brandywine Mansion to visitors in 2017. Then, as fall came upon us, in September, we had our 12th annual commemoration of 9/11, which went off without a hitch. This year was made extra special by the fact that the Steelworkers Memorial was completed. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I would definitely recommend it. It showcases one of the fundamental pieces of the World Trade Center. We're very, very honored to have it. And it was made right here in Coatesville, so it really is a piece of Coatesville pride there. And we were very happy to have Admiral Joe Sestak as our keynote there. And he gave us a very sobering speech about the importance of 9/11 and why the day means so much to our community. So it really is a community event, and we're looking forward to it again this 9/11. To end off 2013, the final large event of the year was the holiday open house, and this year we saw increased attendance with about 200 people. And new programming included a cookie decorating, as well as our traditional favorites of photos with Santa and carolers from Brandywine Middle School. So that was a very pleasant ending to the 2013 calendar year. So moving on to 2014. Some exciting developments for the calendar this year include the introduction of the Science Explorers Camp. We did have it last year, and we will continue on again with it this year. Also, we are in the process of inviting another camp called Bricks for Kids, which will be inviting local school children into, I believe they're a nonprofit, and they get kids into those subjects of science, technology, engineering, and math. So we'll have 2 camps this year. So that's a very exciting development there. Also in 2014, in a few short weeks actually, on May 10th, we will be having the first annual Victorian Tea. It's in honor of Mother's Day. It'll be on May 10th from 2 to 4:30. Throughout the afternoon, there will be traditional tea time dishes, including small sandwiches, scones, pastries, and of course, tea and coffee. If you'd like to bring your little ones, there will be a special children's tray. There will be a program during the tea. It'll be featuring Victorian clothing, which will be the centerpiece of the afternoon, and it'll be followed by delicious desserts. Tickets for the event will be $15 each, so please mark your calendars now because it is coming up soon, and if you're looking for something to do on Mother's Day, it'll promise to be a great event for that. And we are taking reservations, so if you're interested, please give me a call or email programs@steelmuseum.org. Some other special highlights for the coming month includes our spring bus trip. That'll be May 15th this year. And we'll be taking a trip to the SS John Brown down in Baltimore. The SS John Brown is a Liberty ship that was made in World War II. It's the last remaining functional Liberty ship on the East Coast. So it is quite a sight to see. It is exceptional, and we're very lucky to be able to get a tour on it. One of our dedicated volunteers, Larry Freeman, is also a volunteer there, so he knows us and he'll be able to personalize a tour for us, so that should be a very good afternoon there. Throughout the trip, we'll be going also on a Spirit Discovery cruise trip, so you'll be able to relax in the afternoon, do some sightseeing in the Inner Harbor, and we'll be, in the middle of the day, we'll be going to the Rusty Scupper for a very nice lunch. So if you'd like to attend that trip, I believe it's $65 for non-members and $55 for members, so that'll be a great event. Speaking of bus trips, we do have a few more items that are coming up in summer and fall. In July, the museum is planning a 3-day bus trip to New England to the Saugus Iron Works and the Mystic Seaport. Details about that are still coming together, so please stay tuned for the details there. And then following that bus trip in the fall, we'll be taking a trip down to New York City to see the Intrepid Frick Museum and the 9/11 Museum. This trip will be on October 16th, so please keep that in mind when you're making your fall plans. The 9/11 Museum hasn't even opened yet, so we'll be one of the first to see it. And finally, to end off my piece of the program here, please don't forget that our annual garden party is coming up. It'll be taking place on a Thursday this year, so that'll be a change from previous years. This year it'll be June 19th, so it'll be in between that period of high school graduations and when everyone goes to the beach. So hopefully this will be a good date to have that. And it's proven to be a really well-attended evening, and as mentioned from the 2013 report, we present our scholarships, Volunteer of the Year Award, and it's been a wonderful keynote every year, so please mark your calendar for that. And thank you so much again for coming out this evening, and thank you for all your support. And our programs wouldn't be possible without you, so really thanks to you. And next we'll have our
Stuff person.
our collections manager, Kathy Bratton.
I'm not used to sitting down while I type. Yeah, but there's a computer there. I can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
You think?
We'll see.
See if I screw up technology by moving it. Okay. Yay. I have been in museums, it seems like, since, I don't know, I think my first memories were Williamsburg with my parents every year. But when I started my job here, and I would tell people I got a job, I'm the collections manager, and they would say, oh, do you have to call people and get them to, and I went, oh, no, not money. I'm not calling people to get them because they owe us money. I'm calling, I get stuff. They thought collections like, you owe us money. And I thought, no, it never even dawned on me that there's another meaning for the word collections other than the stuff. And that's why I got involved in the museums in the first place, because I remember seeing the stuff, and you get to work with the stuff now that I'm in the museums. And not a very technical term, but it's what it is. I mean, getting to see the patent models at Hagley or the Enola Gay when it's just being restored are very powerful things, and that's why I do what I do. Not because of the items as an item of art, but because of what they are, who they touched, and why they're here. And so that's sort of the heart of what I do. We have the stuff, and we talk about the people they touched. We have the Hustons and the Lukens, obviously, and Graystone Mansion, all our buildings, and the contents there, and that help us to feel what life was like when those buildings were new and the Lukens and the Hustons were in those buildings. But we also have the stuff that touched everybody at Lukens and everybody in Coatesville. What made Coatesville, and what made how these things impacted their lives. And one of the things I was going to show you that I can pass around are things actually that we didn't get, but we have gained. A man by the name of Norm Donahue. His father worked here at Lukens in the early 1912, early part of the 20th century, and he was able to lend us his photo albums. And so we have some wonderful documents of this very room. I will pass them around so we don't have a lot of images of what this building looked like when it was first being used by Lukens. But I can pass these around. So this is this room right here, and it's just wonderful. It shows the people and the typewriters that we have. You know, we have some of those typewriters that you see in this, and we think of the lives. And this is another picture. This is a picture of Lukens' band from the early part of the. So these are just three of, I'd say, 60 to 80 pictures of Coatesville and Lukens and the people that were Lukens. And you'll see in our list we have everything from typewriters to award pins to bass drums, footballs. We have the whole gamut of things that were the people of Coatesville and Lukens, and the things that and what we have of them now, and the remembrances of what Lukens was to these people. So that's some of the things we got. One of the biggest thing you obviously know that we got that I would be remiss to not talk about would be Grutzka, the Klaus Grutzka collection. You've heard, I'm sure you've heard and read about it and seen pieces of it. It is still astounding me every day. One of the wonderful things is we had an exhibit at Penn State, Great Valley, for about 2 months. It was a wonderful exhibit. It was combined with steel sculptures from other artists, so it was a wonderful combination of the exhibit. Those pieces are now on display in the back hall here, so please go see. There are a lot of the there's some of the local works. They're generally Phoenixville, Bethlehem, and Coatesville images from the Grutzka. So that was wonderful to see, to have that exhibit, and we hope to take it to other places, other historical societies that would like to be interested in pieces that show their community. The Hill School, where Grutzka taught, that would be another hopeful venue for an exhibit, or any other gallery. So there's such a wealth of paintings to pick from. We could go to so many places, and it's exciting for me. And I didn't realize this until I got there that night and I saw the exhibit opening, and I saw the big panel with Klaus Grutzka's picture, and I saw his artwork that I had been working with for over a year, and I was so proud to see our Klaus Grutzka up there on the wall, and other people finally seeing him. He's not out there. People don't know him. And so now that's what our goal is this year, is to get people to see his artworks, and as many artworks, and get to know him and get to see what an incredible talent he was. So we're very proud that people see him and are so impressed by his range of talent and his range of styles and skill. So that's fun. We continue to be amazed by the numbers of paintings. We're now assuming that with a rough inventory of over 2,000 to 2,400 individual artworks, and that's everything from 6 by 6 foot paintings to 6 by 6 inch paintings, but original artworks, watercolors, pen and ink, pencil sketches, and just on Saturday, I see half of the volunteers that were here, I think most of the volunteers that were here on Saturday helping with collections management projects were here this Saturday. And on Saturday, in that time period, we did not stop, but we photographed easily 150 paintings just on Saturday, and that was just 6 drawers. 6 drawers of a room that is full of drawers. And the person that was inputting the data said, as I said, okay, drawer 17, still unit 1? Yeah, we're still in unit 1. We're going to be on unit 1 all day. So we got 6 drawers of unit 1 done. There's still 5 drawers in unit 1 we haven't gotten done. But that's just giving you an idea of the sheer numbers that we're dealing with. And as we go through it, we're still seeing and learning about him and what he did. I will admit, by the end, if I saw one more chemical plant painting by Saturday at 3 o'clock, but they were all important, and a lot of them aren't here anymore, so it's important to document them. And so that's Grutzka, and so I'd be glad to answer any questions about that later. What else we had this last year was we had the Coatesville Youth Initiative kids. We had 2 kids this year. They were great for just getting work done on a regular day-by-day basis. That you can't beat them. They were helping us documenting the collection, documenting where things came from. We're trying to document Jean. and all that knowledge. So we can have it to know about all the collections. So that's so important, and they've helped us with that. They're helping us catalog, organize, inventory the collections, move things, so that everything is, all the photos are here, all the videos are here, all the objects are here. So we accomplished so much last summer. I had a list with 20 things on it, collections projects, and they were done by the end of the weeks we had with those Coatesville Youth Initiative kids. So it was great, and I'm working on my list for this year. So things we're looking forward to. Well, today we're gaining collections even as of the last few hours. We had some china generously donated by Barbara Huston, and it's just in our offices if you want to go see it. I just saw it, and it's beautiful. And two of the pieces are from Rebecca Lucan's time period, and hopefully from her, we believe from her collection, from her ownership. And also we have some new furniture coming in to Terracina from the Pennock family from when they lived at Terracina. So we're going to have some furniture returning home and some art pieces returning home to Terracina. So that's coming up in the next few months. So I think that's about it for the excitement for today. So if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm always glad to talk about and show you what we have and the stuff. So thank you. And Jim gets to wrap it up.
Well, thank you. Scott asked me to make some closing remarks, but as he was presenting and the ladies were presenting, I kept remembering things that I wanted to share with you that are ongoing. So if you don't mind, I'll just take a moment. It is extremely exciting around here. I know we've talked about 2013, but if I could kind of take you through next steps. We have a sign project that will be installing signage over Graystone Mansion this year. So it'll be an announcement as you come down South First Avenue that you've arrived. This is Graystone Mansion. It's the Lucan's Historic District. Harcum College is the tenant in there, and then directional signs around there. So that'll be exciting going forward. We have a brochure project that we have initiated in Lancaster at the attractions and hotels there, and in Wilmington, up and down the corridor between here and Wilmington. So as you know, when you visit places, you stop in and the brochures are in the racks. So we'll now have brochures in the racks, and that will hopefully attract visitors here. So as the ladies mentioned, the visitors' numbers are growing, and we hope to see them continue to grow. At Brandywine Mansion and Graystone Mansion, we have some capital needs, some construction projects that are going forward, and we're pursuing, researching the feasibility of those with capital campaigns. And then finally, dear to all of our hearts, is what we call the Jane Davidson Project. And over the past couple of years, Jane had advised us with the Iron and Steel Heritage Museum and the new buildings behind us, currently owned by ArcelorMittal, we'll want to engage the various sales and the products that surround us in here that the Lucan's plate became. And so we started that with a series of interns. Our 2013 intern was a University of Pennsylvania student, Ryan Miller, who we'll be delighted to reconnect with this coming Monday. But they have taken this, what was made here, where did it go, what did it become, what is it now? And then Ryan advanced that to actually starting to contact some local businesses and the communities in the congressional district. So those are the few of the things that we currently have in process that don't show up in the materials here. They're kind of ongoing and they're not mapped. But as you've heard, we've had a wonderful year. We're currently underway with another wonderful year. Attendance has been great in spite of the weather. With the snow, we didn't cancel any of our programs. As a matter of fact, when the power was out, our power was on. We had a lecture, and we invited the people to come where they could recharge their cell phones and get warm before returning home to the cold, which I did. So at any rate, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for being part of our society and our past, our present, and our future. And again, the idea here was to have perhaps a Q&A if there are any. We'd love to entertain your questions. If we've answered them all, well, thank you very much. We have some refreshments, and we can take you around the property. So, yes, Al.
Jim, I don't know if Kathy mentioned this, and most of the people in here probably do know, we do have Klaus Grutzka's entire studio on the second level, and just as he had it, and that's very interesting to see.
It's a long story, and I'd have to share the floor with Scott and Jean and Pete of how this unfolded. But yes, Klaus Grutzka had a studio in Lancaster County in the Mannheim area, and we visited, observed, and were delighted by it. But the issue was to receive it all or none because they were disposing of the estate. So we took it all. And we have recreated to the best that we can within the space upstairs his studio as we saw it when we arrived in Lancaster. So yeah, Al, thank you very much. It's something that we can do and we have done. And the paintings are downstairs, but upstairs you can kind of get a feel for this prolific artist. And it's paintings, it's sketches. He did industrial annual reports for many, many companies, Caterpillar, McGraw-Hill, the list goes on and on, internationally, quite frankly. So again, I go on too much. As the closer, I just again want to thank you very much for coming, and I hope you've had a good time. So thank you very much.